All right, welcome everybody to tasting number 184 of the Saratoga Whiskey Club. We are doing our continuation of our Scotland A to Z series, which has been quite popular. Just so you know, it seems like these kits are selling out faster than other tastings. So if you are interested in these, make sure you sign up quickly because there were a couple of people at the end there that I had to say sorry. There's just not enough whiskey, and I want to make sure we all have enough whiskey to taste. So the drams are going to remain consistent, but that just means you need to sign up rather quickly when we announce these. But tonight is part 5. So we're still in the Bs. We're going to get actually through 30 distilleries by the end of tonight's tasting, which is pretty cool. 6 times 5. So we are going to just jump right into this because we have some videos to play tonight. I have some stuff to read. Actually, I don't have the bottles here yet. That might help. But we are starting with Benrinnes. So I'm going to read a little bit about what we're going to be tasting first, and then I'll read a little bit about the distillery. I don't have a video on this distillery. It's really a workhorse distillery, so they don't have tours. So not one that people actually get to film. But we are drinking tonight to start out with a bottle that I had shipped over from the UK. This is a bottler called Infrequent Flyers. We've done a number of Infrequent Flyers over the years now. One of the better independent bottlers of Scotch whiskey. This is a 17-year Benrinnes that's matured in virgin oak, and it's really weird. They say cast type virgin oak barrel, then they say style virgin oak finish. So is it virgin oak and then finished in virgin oak? I mean, is that possible? It could be. Or it could be just finished in virgin oak. There are only 271 bottles of this. This is 56.1% ABV. It was distilled in 2006. All right, let me read a little bit about Benrinnes. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I get some of these wrong. But they're in Athol. They were founded in 1826, and they're still active. And one really kind of cool fact of Benrinnes is that they were partial triple distillation process until 2007. So for a long time there, they were doing some triple distillation, which not many distilleries in Scotland do. We see that more in Ireland, obviously, but there's a few in Scotland that do either a partial triple distillation or a full triple distillation. Auchentoshan does a full, but they go all the way back to 1820.
What does partial mean?
So it means one of two things. It means either some of their malt was triple distilled and then some was double distilled, or their process was a maybe 2.5 distillation process, so almost triple distillation. That could be also a partial triple distillation. Let me see here. Okay. So Benrinnes, between 1974 and 2007, the distillery used a unique partial triple distillation process. In this process, the faints from the wash still, the weaker part of the faints of the spirit still, and the faints from the low wine still itself are distilled in a low wine still. Well, this is really confusing. We need like a chart to do this. This is like Monty Python right here. Maybe I should do it in an accent. Maybe we should get Johnny to do this. In this process, the faints from the wash still, the weaker parts of the faints of the spirit. No, I mean, it's truly this is a Monty Python thing. And the faints are distilled in a low wine still, while the spirit still is fed by the foreshots and the heart of the wash and low wine still, and its own foreshots and strong faints.
I'm so glad I asked.
I have a strong faint.
So what they're doing there is they're taking distillation cuts and they're distilling them at different points. So it's kind of a triple distillation, but it's not a normal taking the full cut and distilling it again and then taking another and distilling it again. They're taking parts and distilling second and third time. So they do use worm tubs. Something to think about. All right. Worm tubs make a difference. But they are a Diageo owned distillery at this point. And they are a workhorse for Diageo. So when we think about the big blends, the Johnny Walkers of the world, and the other blends that Diageo does, Benrinnes plays a part in that. They don't use any peat. The only release that they've officially had was the Flora and Fauna, which was a 15-year-old kind of, they call it a semi-official bottling. And that's been released since 1991. So they do release one thing a year. It's not something that you find very often. But let's talk about the whiskey. Anybody like it?
Yeah.
Dry oaky.
I get cinnamon on the nose.
It's nice, but I'm not no kind of juice. Like I won't pretty well.
Actually, I don't think it's that dry. It's kind of sweet on the palate.
Finish though. On the finish though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and lingers.
Oh yeah, lots of spice on that.
Yeah, like all the spices.
Yeah, so we have had a number of Benrinnes in the shop, and you will really only see them in IBs, independent bottling. So that's why we've had a number of them. And being a Diageo distillery, you tend to see more independent bottlings coming from some of the workhorses of Diageo, which Benrinnes, like Daluin, same kind of deal. But Benrinnes doesn't have the same kind of popularity or following that Daluin does. You know, have you ever found Benrinnes fans?
I mean, I always look for it because of the worm tubs, but Daluin is a bigger distillery. You see it more often.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about size, and that's something we should bring up here because it always helps to understand a distillery by the size of its production. So let me pull that up real quick. So the capacity at Benrinnes is 2.5 million liters.
That's small.
So smallish. I mean, Deanston's about 3 million. There's quite a few that are around 2 million. So yeah, it's kind of in that medium size range.
Are they mostly in blends?
Yes, workhorse, Diageo workhorse and blends.
Like, do we know like Johnny Walker?
They don't actually say which blends they're in.
Well, it is nice.
Okay.
It is nice. What do you say?
For a while, they were owned by Dewar's. So they were possibly in Dewar's for
Might still be.
a long time. And that's true. They could still be in Dewar's
Yeah, they
because
trade.
Diageo sells barrels and trades barrels as well. What's that?
How much?
Oh, this bottle was around, I think it was around 100 pounds
$130.
or 100. Yeah, it was, yeah, somewhere around there. $130. Not bad for a 17-year.
No, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Is it because it's very clean?
Just, yeah, so less than known distillery. And virgin oak is cheaper than sherry.
What do you guys think about this online? Anybody have any questions or?
It seems a bit hot to me, but that may be the spiciness. But other than that, it's a really pleasant dram.
Yeah.
They finish.
Yeah, that virgin oak sometimes will bring out that spice, that oakiness.
I like it.
Yeah, it's one of those on my palate. The more I sip it, the more I like it. It seems like the palate's calmed down off of that initial fire note.
I totally agree with you on that,
You're
Charles.
muted, Meg.
I was just telling him I actually it was the opposite for me. I liked it better up front than
Oh,
steps in.
okay.
It got drier for me.
Yeah, okay. Maybe more of the oak comes through.
Yeah. I will say, Charles, I'm now on team anti-wax for bottles because I could not get the rare character bottle open.
Oh, no.
The seal broke halfway through it, and then I tried taking a scissors to it and to get the rest of the way, and we were at Jeff's house, so like I like gave up.
Gotta get like shears and really dig in and
Yeah, I've got a knife I can use later.
yeah, or a
I
knife.
forgot that we couldn't open it.
It's dangerous though, I'll tell you, those bottles are dangerous.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's one line of option. where it's
I really hate that.
No, it can be. Just means it hasn't been used before or something.
Right.
Yeah, I like virgin. I mean, the thing is, it takes. Because the virgin oak is so bold, right? It's giving it some of those bourbon notes. Some of the stuff, the cinnamon and the lumber, which you get in the bourbon.
But not as much.
But you're taking, right, because not quite, then it's taking away some of the subtle notes.
Do they?
Before you know it, you've got a diaper on.
Everybody doing all right? I'm gonna leave a little bit in my glass. Actually, maybe not, because we're gonna, Benromach has a little smoke, so. Bottoms up. Bottoms up. Okay, everybody good with the first one? I don't want to go too fast, but everybody all right? Yeah. Okay. So we do have a really short video I'm going to play on Benromach. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it isn't that short. No, it's not that short. So it's a little long. So let me talk about the whiskey first. How about we do that? So, and you'll hear some of this in the video, but Benromach is also technically a Speyside distillery near Elgin, but it's owned currently by Gordon and MacPhail. It was their first distillery that they outright purchased. Gordon MacPhail is one of the oldest independent bottlers in Scotland. And they purchased it in 1993. And they started to take over the site. In 1997, they actually started to restore the distillery to working order. Because it was officially closed back in 1983. But Benromach goes back pretty far. It goes back to 1898. And I'm going to play the video, which is going to talk more about the distillery. But let's talk about this bottle. So I happened to be in Elgin in late April, and I was visiting our good friend Russell at the Gordon MacPhail shop. And it's a great shop because not only do they have really wonderful Gordon and MacPhail independent bottlings, but they also have a pretty decent selection of Scotch whiskey in general. They actually have world whiskey and other things as well. There's actually Blanton's Gold of all things at the Gordon MacPhail shop. But this one, I asked Russell, I said, hey, I'm looking for a Benromach. They don't too often, you don't see Benromach in IBs. If you do, you might see it under Gordon MacPhail, but it's not too often that you see that. So I asked them, what do you have? What would be different or something that maybe we can't get in the US at this point? and he pointed me to this. So this is what they call their Cask Strength edition. This is batch number 3. We have had earlier batches in the United States. I don't think batch 3 is here yet, and that's why I bought this. But this one actually does have an age statement on
I
it.
was looking on that one, I thought it lay somewhere. Don't drink it, Shalom.
Don't drink it, Shalom. It's a pretty big batch. This is a bottling of 48 casks, so not a small release. But this is aged for 9 years in oak, distilled in 2014, bottled in 2024. So let's see here. Our cask strength single malt whiskey delivers rich fruitcake aromas and with stewed plum, marmalade, spicy black pepper flavors, finishing with a lingering smoke and hint of aniseed. So they do use some peat at Benromach. They're one of the unusual Speyside distilleries that does use smoke for their malts, which makes it unique, and also it gives it a strength, being with that subtle smoke. But I'm going to play a video. I'm going to turn my screen here so everybody here can see it as well. I will kind of jump through this video, but it's kind of fun to see this distillery. This will be the only longer video that kind of shows the distillery and the process. We don't need to watch that over and over, but it'd be kind of cool to see Benromach because not many people have been there. I actually have not visited Benromach myself. So
Okay, we pass Bowmore around?
yep. Let me just get this set up here. Share my screen. Thank you.
I got it. To me, it reminded me of cigars and well-worn leather chairs.
Exactly right. The leather comes
It was like red leather. I could just see this dark.
Just so you know, the people online, it might buffer. It might take a little bit to get this to kind of play smoothly. So just be patient with that.
How much was this?
Yeah, just give it a second so it kind of.
Hello and welcome to Whiskey.com, where fine spirits meet. And today I'm in Scotland at the Benromach distillery. The Benromach distillery was founded in 1898, and the Benromach distillery is one of these distilleries that has been sold very often. It has been had discontinued production, so it had many production stops. And the last time it was sold was in 1993, and it was sold to Gordon and MacPhail, the independent bottler. And they reopened the distillery in 1998, 20 years ago. And at this first day, they filled the first cask and had it signed by Prince Charles. And this cask now was actually bottled 20 years later at their jubilee, and they actually sold or auctioned off the bottles for a beneficial cause. So that's a really nice thing. And today we find out why the distillery is so traditional and what this tradition is actually, how this tradition is affecting the production of this whiskey. So I've told you the distillery is really traditional, and this is one of these traditional tools. It's actually quality control. Once you have grinded down the malt, you fill up this box here with a bit of the grist, you close it, and then you shake it, and actually separates the grinded down malt, and it separates them into the flour, the grist, and the husks. And then you take them to a scale, you weigh them, and you see if the malt is actually from good quality. This here is also a very traditional tool. It is the old Bobby mill. It is a roller mill that just grinds down the malt into a grist that is later used for the mashing. What is really important is what goes into this mill. The malt for the Benromach distillery is from local maltings. That means everything that the distillery uses for malt, it comes from Scotland, so a really Scottish product. They take a few different malts for their different expressions. For example, you have the organic, that's an unpeated malt. So the distillery has to shut down for a few days and do a bit of cleaning to get all that peat smoke out of their system to produce an unpeated whiskey. Then we have the 10-year-old, the 15-year-old, and the other expressions. They are at about 10 to 12 ppm. And in the end, we do have the heavily peated, which is around 45 to 50 ppm. So a really heavily peat smoked whiskey. Yeah. The other thing is you need water for a good whiskey. The distillery has a local spring, that is the Chapeltown Spring, and that supplies the distillery with fresh spring water because this is just really important for the distillation. So the next step here is the mash tun. There's a beautiful copper mash tun. It's a semi-lauter mash tun, and it takes about 1,500 tons of grist to produce 7,500 liters of wort. Yeah, they have 3 cycles where they wash out all the sugars and all the starches for the washbacks to produce the beer or the wash for their distillation. Yeah, they have 3 cycles. That means the first and the second cycle goes on to the fermentation, and the third cycle is so low on sugar and starch that they actually use it in the next run to wash out even more from the grist to produce more of that sugary substance that later becomes the whiskey. So here we have another one of these traditional factors for the distillery. It is the old wooden washbacks. They're made from Scottish larch. They're actually made from the wood from the washbacks of the previous owner. I think the old washbacks were probably pretty old, leaky, so the distillery broke it down and they made from the good wood, they made new washbacks. So these washbacks are really, really old, at least 35 years, but you can't really tell how old they are. And what else does the distillery is they have a traditional way of fermenting. As you can see, you have the CO2 blower, which is government regulated, but you don't have the switchblades. The switchblades usually break down the bubbles so it doesn't bubble over. But they don't need that because they have what they call a cloudy mash. And that means you don't have that many bubbles in there and it doesn't bubble over. So yeah, very traditional. Also, the fermentation is really slow. The average time for fermentation is about 90 hours, which is extremely long. And why they actually need that is because they don't just go with the distiller's yeast, but they also mix in a little bit of brewer's yeast. Distiller's yeast is a very strong, fast yeast that gives you a lot of yield, but the brewer's yeast is more flavorsome. So you have a bit of a more richer, fruitier, nuttier character. And that's what the Benromach distillery is looking for, that richer, fruitier character that you know from the Benromach whiskies. Now we're at the heart of the distillery, the stills. To my right here, we have the wash still. The wash is filled into the still and then boiled, and it distills up to about 22%, and we get what they call low wines. Low wines is the intermediate product, and it is condensed through the condensers outside. You can always spot the wash still through looking at the neck, and you do have a watch glass there. That's there because the beer is bubbling, and actually the beer has some solid bits in it, and you never want to have the wash still over boiling, because if these solid bits get into the condenser, they can clog it up and you get an overpressure, and that is really, really dangerous. And then we have the spirit still, the second distillation process, and that is really, really important for the character of the whiskey. First of all, you look at the shape of the spirit still. And here we have a pretty round, pear-shaped with a reflux bowl. So you can straightforward distill it. And what is also really important is the speed at which the still is run. So here at Benromach, we have a hard pace of 1.5 or 1 hour, 20 minutes, which is pretty fast. So this means that everything is boiling very fast. So you do have a lot of oily and other flavor character particles being distilled and taken into the final product. And that means you do have a really rich flavor, some strong, even spicy character that comes out of this spirit still. Outside the distillery, we do have the condensers. They are shell and tube condensers, just condensing it down to a final product that is around 67% ABV. So the hard piece is between 63% and about 72% for the final spirit that is then filled into the cask. Nowadays, all the distilleries do barcodes and computer systems, but not Benromach. Benromach does it the old traditional style. You do have a stencil, and
all right, we don't need to watch the stencil.
Very important for the tax collection. I'm here in one of the warehouses.
So Rick House's Dunnage style.
This is one of the 5 warehouses, and they're all Dunnage style warehouses. Yeah. Also in the warehouses, Benromach is really, really traditional. Because of the Dunnage warehouses with the
that could be our stuff though. 9 years, 2015
style of mature
distillation date.
And
okay, that's good enough. We don't need to be in the warehouse the rest of tonight. Stop the share. No, so he said there were some expressions that are unpeated that they do, but the majority has peat. Yeah, I don't remember what the unpeated expressions are called.
It's there on the finish. It's like the nose is the leather is stuff, but the finish is all peat. I didn't get much else other than the leather. I mean, other than peat on it.
All right. Anybody have any comments on the Benromach? Pretty solid, right? I mean, obviously you have to like some smoke. It's not a ton, but
it's nicely balanced. Very fatty, meaty type of smoke.
Yeah.
Smoked meats. That's a good description. Yeah.
And like he was talking about with that fast distillation as well. And, you know, you're going to get some of that those oils coming over the top, making it a kind of thicker, richer dram. But long fermentation, so you would think there's some fruitiness coming through from that as well. And the brewer's yeast. So this would be one that falls in the range of 10 to 12 ppm. This would not be what they would consider their heavily peated. No. Yeah, so we're going to move on to Bladnoch. Definitely drink some water, clear your palate. Bladnoch is going to be quite different than what we've had so far. And I do have a very short video on Bladnoch that I do want to play, just to give you a quick sense of their deal. I'm going to share this real quick because this video is only a minute long. Here we go again. All right. That's our introduction to Bladnoch. They didn't really show too much in terms of the distillery, but you saw a little picture there. So here's some history on Bladnoch. Or let me talk about the bottle we're having first. On this is a little lower proof, so just keep that in mind. We're dropping in proof quite a bit. So have some crackers, cucumbers, whatever you can to kind of clean your palate. Definitely some water. But we were on our way to Isla. This was the second. I went to Isla twice in May, but this was the second time, and we took the bus, or actually we had a private bus that took us to the ferry, and we stopped in Inverary for 20 minutes or so to grab a quick bite, and I ran into the Inverary whiskey shop, which is a really, really great whiskey shop.
That's Loch Fyne.
Yes. Oh, Loch Fyne. Well,
That was another one.
you know what? It might have been Loch Fyne. Is it Loch Fyne? Are there two of them? Or is it just the one?
There's another one on the other side of the road.
So this one was kind of up the road on the right.
Yep,
That's Loch Fyne. Okay, yeah. So this was Loch Fyne. And I was just scanning the shelves, and they had, lots of pretty crazy bottles in there. Some really expensive stuff. But I saw this Bladnoch, or I asked him, I said, what do you have that's, I had my list, so my Scotland A to Z list. And I said, what do you have from any of these distilleries that might be unique or, and he said, well, I have this older Bladnoch that you can't get anymore. This is like an older release Bladnoch. And I was like, all right, let's go ahead and do it. It was not cheap though. So, I mean, Loch Fyne got one on me there. I'll pull up the price here shortly, but it was probably like $160 or $170. So not a cheap bottle. But this one's 14 years old. It's fully matured in Oloroso sherry, but it's only 46.7%. This is a distillery release, so this is not an independent bottling, and this is not a cask strength release. This is an older 14-year-old release that they used to have. So not something we see here in the US. We've had some Bladnochs here, more recently, nothing this old that I've seen. But so the distillery itself, you guys can go ahead and start tasting this. It's located in the lowlands. So there's not a lot of distilleries that we, taste from in the lowlands. We've had a couple so far in Scotland A to Z. It's located at Bladnoch. It's actual town called Bladnoch in the southwest part of Scotland. It's one of 6 remaining lowland distilleries in terms of single malt. But it was founded back in 1817, so very old distillery. Let's see here. Obviously had lots of ups and downs, like most distilleries in Scotland. In 1993, it was closed by United Distillers and then, or technically mothballed. But then it was discovered by a Northern Irishman, Raymond Armstrong, while on holiday in the area with his family in 1994. I thought that was kind of funny. Initially intending to convert the buildings into holiday homes for Northern Irish policemen who wished to escape from the troubles of Northern Ireland, Raymond fell in love with the distillery and his plans changed. After several years spent finding and replacing the old plant and equipment, much of which had been wrapped in plastic in storage since its closure, the distillery reopened for production in December of 2000. The first 8-year-old single malt produced by Raymond became available in 2009. The company operating Bladnoch was closed in March 2014 and was purchased in 2015 by an Australian entrepreneur, David Pryor, who had sold his yogurt business for £52 million in 2014.
Fermentation.
Yeah. Pryor is thought to be the first Australian to buy a Scotch whiskey distillery. Resumed production in 2017 with much new equipment, including a 5-ton mash tun, 6 Douglas fir washbacks, 2 12,500 liter wash stills, 2 low wine stills, and yeah. So let's see. So if you think about it, this Bladnoch 14 comes from before then, because there's nothing that old. If they just resumed production in 2017, so that's kind of cool. And yeah, so let's taste it. I haven't had it yet. I'll look up the
What are they
price.
producing now, Charles?
What's that?
How much are they producing?
Well, we've carried some. What have we had? We've had some non-age statement stuff, and then we had a 10-year, right?
No, you talked about the one that was making like 2.5 million liters or something.
Oh, what's their production capacity?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. Actually, I didn't. Let's look at Benromach first, because I forgot to look that up too. Okay, so Benromach, just again, we're talking about capacity. Oh, wow, Benromach's really small. Benromach is only 400,000 liters. Tiny, tiny, tiny.
That's because they're doing everything the old way.
The club should adopt them.
Dalin
Like
Dalek
a personal one.
was like 250.
They could produce
1,000
more though.
Wow,
With those two.
that's
stills,
true.
but
That's true.
it's- yeah, it's-
All right, so that's Benromach. Let's look up Bladnoch. That's the fun part about looking up their
Can you pass the
capacity.
bottle around?
Yeah. 1.5 million liters.
Wow, that is, they spent a lot on their packaging. That is a.
And that comes in a fancy box too. So
That's quite a hefty bottle.
Last one was 160.
Hmm?
Back in
Hmm?
Yeah.
46.7.
pretty tasty.
Yeah. Sherry bomb.
Yeah, I'm getting like hazelnuts and dried fruit and some baked custard.
Okay, so this, yeah, lock fine. It was $168.
The Bladnoch?
Yeah. And a cent. 168.01.
Close the shop after you left.
Yeah.
Went off to the pub to celebrate. I got rid of the pub.
Yeah, he was very excited to get rid of the Bladnoch 14.
That's nice.
Hey, I'm very glad to have the Bladnoch 14.
Got that sucker American to buy it from him.
Glad to try it.
Paul's kind of
It's the
spicy.
Saratoga Sucker Club. Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I wanted to get up and stretch my legs.
You see that cork?
Yeah. That was a fun one to get out, huh?
Yeah, I have the corkscrew.
Yeah, so Maggie's favorite bottle is.
Oh, okay.
Bottles. They make great water. They're beautiful.
It's not a liter and a half bottle, right? It's a
Whereas,
700.
Yeah, 700. Yep.
So it's tasty, but I wouldn't have been happy at $170.
You wouldn't have been happy with this one?
Not at that price. It's a fine whiskey, but it's kind of rounded to me.
It's more of the rarity of the bottle, I think.
Sure.
The price. Yeah. Yeah. As you'll see on our last whiskey, it was definitely the rarity of the bottle that made it what it was in terms of price.
Charles, do you have any idea when it was distilled?
Where's the bottle? Is it still going on?
It's going around.
Oh, okay. Doesn't have a distillation date on there or anything, right? No. Not sure, tell you the truth.
It's interesting, they say 46.7 twice.
Let me see if there's any info on
It
the
says
line.
46.7% alcohol and 46.7% alcohol by volume. Isn't that weird?
Shalom. I think that's the origin of the proof calculation.
The origin of what?
The proof calculation, when somebody talks about proof. 46.7 plus 46.7.
Prove it to me.
I think it's on the bottle. I can't see the bottle. Dubiously casual, the most obvious observer.
This one does. Old school.
That might just be more like a design.
So the release came out 3 years ago. So that would make it 2008 if it was bottled right away.
So it's definitely from the period that between 2000 and 2014 when it was open and closed versus it's older than the 1993.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's yeah, it would have been when the Raymond, when the Irish guy was distilling, because he operated that until March of 2014. So that makes sense. Yeah. This actually was produced. Well, let's see here. Yeah. So 2008. Yeah. Yeah. So this was by the Irishman. Yeah. Just kind of cool. Definitely sticks to the glass for a low ABV.
Definitely, and it's kind of got like a tea essence to me. It kind of like an herbal tea.
Yep.
It was very good.
Very nice. I got to say, it's very rich and coats the palate really nicely.
Yeah. Yep.
It was such a big sherry bomb. It was like that color black.
Charles, what do you think of this one?
I really like it.
It like wants to be fruity, but it's not.
It's kind of
like
spicy. It's like, well, because the raisin.
It smells like bologna.
No, it's very. I get that it's very raisiny.
It smells like bologna coming from a vegetarian.
That's what Callan influence, right?
That's I get raisins. I get some hazelnuts.
Quickest way to cook.
That's the requirement. So if you can have one.
I'm just gonna set up this next video.
Stop.
Oh my god.
Welcome to Blair Athol.
Okay, I'm just getting this next video. All right, so we're gonna move on. I really like this Bladnoch. I thought it was pretty good. Dark chocolate, really good. Dark chocolate. Okay, this next one is a special bottle I picked up at the distillery, but I've got to find out the price here.
Charles, did you hand fill it?
So I could have, but I didn't on this one. They already had some that were already filled, and I just decided to. I had already done a bunch on that trip, and I was like, oh, it's okay. Let me just see if I can find the price of this one. All right, so this one was also $168 and 46 cents. 48 cents, sorry. 168.48. All right, so this is a hand fill from Blair Athol. It was actually yeah, so this is the label. It's your basic hand fill label where you write in. It's probably hard to see. I don't know. I made that worse. Probably shouldn't have touched the camera. I'm all fuzzy now.
It's even worse.
No, I need a napkin or
She
You got
gets some
1940 soft
hazmat
lighting.
strength.
use my shirt.
Cotton swab of hazmat strength.
There we go.
I know. I was thinking that earlier.
This must be one of those Saratoga Springs High School webcams. Thanks, Lucas.
It seems like a white. It seems like a soft chart or something. There's no.
Yeah. So in terms of the maturation, so this is an 11-year-old hand fill. No, it wasn't a wine finish. No, it was a hogshead, bourbon hogshead.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why I get the vanilla.
Yeah. So this was 53.2%. This was bottled in October of 2024. That's actually when I bought it. Was last fall. So a little while ago. Yeah, so okay, let's I have a video on Blair Athol. Very, very cute small distillery. Let's talk about production numbers here. So Blair Athol is making the same amount as Benrinnes, so 2.5 million liters. Okay. So not that small. Again, another Diageo distillery. But here, let me play this video for you guys. This guy's actually pretty good. He's a kind of funny guy here. Yeah, it's Shalom. Shalom is going to guide us through.
No. I wear glasses. That's not me.
Hi, Shalom.
Take your advice.
Shalom, Ken.
Welcome to Blair Distillery.
That's Frank.
We'll be together roughly an hour.
Hi, Frank.
We'll tell you how it works, tell you a little bit of the history, and of course, at the end of the tour, the bait to keep you with me, you get a wee taste of what we make. We're going to go through the courtyard here, up to the upper courtyard,
beautiful
and then the lower
distillery.
house, and that's where we get.
That is pretty.
So we're now in one of the.
There's the mash tun.
Distilleries in Scotland.
This is really fast. He goes fast. Frank.
We don't know how long they've been making whiskey before they got the license.
That's the fermentation tank, so they're stainless steel. There's the distillery. Frank is cruising right now. Frank gets paid by how many tours he does a day.
They controlled eventually about a quarter of the industry. What's been poured already is this 12-year-old Blair Athol single malt whiskey. Bottled at 43% alcohol. We never bottled it less than 40%.
All right, I'm done with Frank. All right.
You're even quicker than him.
Frank was a little lame. I'm sorry, Frank. All right, so I'm going to read a little bit about Blair Athol because there is quite a history to them. So they're located pretty close to where Edgedour is in the town of Pitlochry, Highlands. They're not that far up. It's used in Bell's whiskey, so the blend, the Diageo blend Bell's. So they do quite a bit of their spirit is used in Bell's. Distillery was founded in 1798.
Whoa, it's old.
So pretty old place. Originally named Aldor after the Alt Door burn the distillery draws its water from, but closed soon after the opening. And then it changed ownership. Of course, changed a bunch of times. In 1987, Guinness combined the businesses of Arthur Bell and Sons and Distillers Company. In 97, Guinness merged with Grand Metropolitan to create Diageo, the current owner of Blair Athol. So there you go. It's a Diageo owned, very, very touristed distillery because it's right on the road heading north up to the up through the Highlands. They get a lot of tourists coming through there, easy stop. But very beautiful distillery, and worth the stop. Definitely worth the stop. The tour is great. I've done it a couple times now. The tasting is actually really great. They have not just the distillery exclusive, they have the hand fill in the tasting as well. So pretty good stuff. Oh, there you go.
So far, there has not been one Abendreg in the bunch.
There's not been one what?
Abanderg.
Was that the pickle juice?
Yeah.
That was the second row.
Well, there was also the Elsa, or there was the rye.
Oh, that was the worst. Yeah, that was the worst I've ever tasted.
Arbiki rye.
Avanderg is the worst whiskey I've ever had.
Yeah, we think it was recycled. It was second use.
Hey, the tasting's not over yet. I'm just saying.
Don't jinx us.
So, going back to my earlier comment, I would feel less bad about this one at 170.
This is a pretty good dram.
I like this one. Yeah,
It's solid, well balanced, right
Yep.
to the. Love it. Vanilla, spice, really a lot going on.
Birthday boy doesn't like it.
I'm not loving it.
Really? This is very unique for me.
Must be getting old.
I mean, you guys have had some great Blair Athol in the shop that I've loved. I actually have a bottle. I got the green label, the Israeli bottler. They get Blair Athol.
Oh yeah, the DS
DS Taman. I had some DS Taman Blair Athol.
Yeah, it's really good. Had a lot more than that. Yeah.
But that was wine finish too.
Right, that was wine finish.
There's no reflux ball, like it's up and out. It's very little.
Just a little dry for my palate.
It does have a dry finish. It's very different from what we've tasted so far tonight.
I mean, it's just not great. It's just not great. I mean, no, the other ones have been great.
When your palate gets to be 67 years old, you start to lose. No, I'm sorry.
It coincides with some, yeah.
What I could look forward to in 2 years, my Jedi powers go away.
No, the curmudgeon powers increase.
What I've always said about you is you've got
Vinny,
great Jedi powers.
Vinny, you always have your nose. You will always have your nose.
COVID again, because that might go for a few months.
Vinny the nose.
Vinny the nose.
Middleton should make a
Nice.
hours release.
I don't mind it. Don't know if
It's crazy that I buy a handful of this and I just get a little pour in there. It's gone. It's okay. It's pro clava.
I think it's very dry for something that's finished in ex-bourbon. I would have never guessed that if it was on the calendar.
There's more aggressive in the
So you say it's ex-bourbon or ex?
Bourbon.
something else in that bourbon.
One of the tips they mother started
So you're getting nice or
and
something.
I have
At the end.
8 or 9 left. I had photos of me taking all of them.
I'm gonna look and see if I can figure out what does it say what batch it is? 2024-09. Let me just see.
It's preserved. You get some bites.
I was wrong.
What?
It's not a bourbon Lisa. It is a red wine cask.
See?
Oh.
We were right.
We were lied to.
No. I just didn't do
We're
my
just testing our palates.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Flash.
I can't remember everything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's weird to have a hogshead hand fill.
It did taste winey to me.
Oh.
And I don't want to hear anybody whine about this one.
Did it say what type of wine?
No. Let me see.
Very stale.
But it's not heavy.
No, it doesn't say what kind of wine it is.
No, it's not that funny.
All right.
How much was this one, Charles?
Hmm?
What was the cost on this one? Take your time. Don't choke on food.
168.48.
No, that'd be a lot more like this.
Okay, I gotta pull up some info on this next one because it's there were no videos on the next one, and there's very little information.
Missing Frank a little bit now, aren't you?
What?
Missing Frank a little bit now.
Yeah, where's Frank when you
1 minute video of the whole distillery.
Frank's kind of a hot dog.
All right, I'm actually gonna share this so you guys can read along with me here. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next one. This is Bonnington. Bonnington, probably most people haven't heard of Bonnington.
Nope. No, I've had the beer.
All right, so I'm gonna read a little bit. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Listen up. I'm gonna read a little bit off of the box and on the website. The Bonnington story began in 2017 on Graham Street in Leith, Edinburgh. Whilst building the foundations for the distillery, ruins of the old fortifications were discovered, providing the inspiration for our Citadel icon. There's a big icon. You can almost see it on my little thing here, whatever. Okay, so so the company behind Bonnington is this John Krabby and Co. So some of you have heard of Krabby whiskey. Some of you, yeah, John, you've heard it. So they've been John Krabby and Co. have been purveyors of wine and spirits since 1801, so a long time. Absolute pioneer in his field. John Krabby's involvement in the Scottish whiskey industry is legendary. So they have a bunch of these John Krabby whiskeys, but then they have this Bonnington line. And let me see if I can pull up the Bonnington. All right, so here's Bonnington Distillery. I'm just going to kind of go through this because there's not a lot online about this. The result of a multi-million pound investment, Bonnington was commissioned in 2019, began production in 2020 with an estimated 4,200 casks per year. It is the first single malt distillery in Leith, not Portleith Distillery, which we are sometimes told, in nearly 100 years. The water is sourced from a local ancient aquifer, which is the same as Portleith. State-of-the-art distillery. 2.5 ton mash tun, 6 10,000 liter fermentation tanks, fermentation for at least 48 hours, which isn't very long. Their stills are squat neck stills, which are made by Speyside Copper Works. There's actually some pictures here. Here's some pictures of the distillery. You guys can see here. I mean, it's a real deal distillery. This isn't like just some fly by night. You know, they actually have real stills. spirit safe, the whole 9 yards.
Do you think we're calling BS on you? This is
So young team, John Lockhart. So what we're drinking tonight is there wasn't a lot of options for Bonnington. Obviously, very young distillery. You know, the person that I got the idea for the Scotland A to Z tasting from, when he had Bonnington on his list, it was one of the first releases that they had. So this is not one of the first. It's probably like the third release at this point from them. So still very young. Think about it, 2020, right? So this is super young whiskey. This is what they call their sherry cask release. This is a Pedro Jimenez sherry cask release. This is 47%. 47%. It's got a little funk on the nose.
A little? A little?
Yeah.
That's Lee. No, sorry, that's horrible.
At least a little.
Whiskey right there.
I think I like the funk. I really do on the nose.
Actually, the palate's not so bad. The nose is a little tricky with that funkiness to it. It is a very, very young. You can taste the youth even in the spirit. It is watered down as well. It's 47%. So this is not going to hold up to the cask strength whiskeys that we've had, but we are doing this in order. So we are kind of screwed when we come across bottles like this. But the nose isn't something that I'm crazy about, but the palate's not so bad.
Struggled with that too.
I'm getting a little bit of diaper note.
I got in the finish. I got septic
diaper nose.
Day old socks.
I'm getting like cabbage. Like,
wait, Melissa, did you say Dale's socks? Because how do you know?
Yeah, I said day old, but day old will also work.
Oh, day old socks, not
Dale. Dale.
Yeah.
I thought yeah. Looks like a Turcano bottle.
It does in a way, yeah. This is what it's all about, though. We're trying Bonnington. I mean, come on. Who knew of Bonnington?
Yeah.
The palate's not bad, though.
No, the palate's not bad. I agree. It tastes young. There's no question. Now, this was not expensive. So I bought the Benromach and the Bonnington together. I found this at the Gordon MacPhail shop. And the two of them combined, it was like $160.
So you bought one and got one for free?
It was leaning more. This was probably closer to like 55 pounds. And the Benromach was 75, 80 pounds. Something like that. I don't have the receipt anymore, so.
But they must sell some other stuff.
Actually, the nose gets better after you've had it on the palate a little bit.
I feel like it would be really good with a little bit of stinky cheese.
Oh.
Yeah, because the stinky cheese would kill your nose. Your nose would be like, man, that stinky cheese is greater than the stinky cheese would give you a finish.
Pretty good. Probably my lowest score of the night, but not that bad of a score.
I like the palate.
The palate's not too bad.
The nose.
It's young. I mean, this is not a rich. This is young, fruity, sprightly. It's
Spring break.
We definitely were in school.
Yeah, spring break whiskey, not spring bank.
Spring broke.
This is spring broke whiskey.
Well, you're a doctor. Doctor. Yeah. This, if anyone's chilling, this is so. I know the Lemon too, but I'm gonna go to this guy.
I flew out to see my nephew in California. Of course, someone passes out, so the whole flight.
Everybody needs to finish this one. Yes.
My buddy's in
That's the rule.
My buddy's in ER doc. He had diverted the plane.
I'm not having any unfinished Bonnington on the table tonight. Come on, it's your birthday.
All right, I will drink it. I will drink it. Just give me a second.
We did our fair share. We drank ours.
Yeah, there you go.
Shalom.
Team players.
All right, here we go.
I want blue cheese now, though.
Team players.
Slanjava.
Slanjava. Look at this.
Hold on. Hold on.
Oh wow, big pour.
Hey.
Shalom just puked.
Oh no! Who did he hit?
I'm just kidding.
The first three were great.
He's hanging in there by a thread right now. By a thread. His face is really red.
I'm really drunk.
It was okay. Wasn't that bad.
All right. Let's clean our palate one last time. Huh? We're going to put toothbrushes on the table for palate cleansers. And we're going to just share them. All right, I do have a video for this last whiskey because Bowmore is truly a special place. It would do a disservice.
It was great.
It would do a disservice if we didn't.
Let's face it, you're gonna be a little
Okay, I'm going to start playing. All right, I'll talk about the whiskey first. Do not drink this last whiskey quickly. Take your time. This was a 400-pound bottle.
Whoa!
Okay.
Don't tell us that at the beginning. Tell us at the end.
I just don't want you pounding it. I don't want you pounding it.
Don't.
So yeah, don't pound it. That's just
I haven't pounded any of them.
Well, Shalom just pounded Bonnington.
Because you made it.
It was peer pressure. It was peer pressure that made him pound that body.
Blair Athol.
I'll get there. Just
all right. All right.
$300 bottle of whiskey, and I smacked him in the back of the head so hard his teeth fell out.
Yeah, there you go. So what we're drinking tonight is a Bowmore that was distilled a long time ago. So this is a 1990s bottling. So that means it was bottled either in the 90s or the 80s, or distilled in the 90s or the 80s. There's no age statement, so I don't know the exact date of distillation. But this is the older Bowmore kind of juice. So they have this is what the label used to look like back in the day. I had at one point a 12-year-old from earlier bottlings that had this label, and it was absolutely delicious. And I drank that very slowly. This is a cask strength edition, which was actually quite rare in the 90s for a distillery to put out a cask strength edition. This is 56% ABV, bottled in the 1990s. We don't have a date on this. There's no like stamp or anything on this old bottle here. But it was 399 pounds. So a little over $500. It was probably around $520, $530. That's why this tasting was $65 versus whatever. Still reasonable for us to be able to try something special like this. But I'm going to play a little video while we enjoy this last dram to show you Bowmore and kind of their process, because Bowmore is definitely a special place. One of the older distilleries, established in 1779. So, you know, really, really old distilleries. So let me share this while we enjoy this last dram. And
It's been in continuous production since 1779.
yes, I mean, they probably stopped at some point. It was closed in 1915 until 1925. And then during the wars, they halted production. And they're currently owned by Suntory, who bought them in 1994. Yeah, so there you go.
We are one of just a handful of distilleries to still produce our own floor malted barley. For us, this is the best way to control and ensure the finest quality.
Yeah.
Our own floor malted barley also contributes ripe, fruity flavours to our whisky. Before germination, the barley is steeped in water from the River Lagan. It's almost 8 miles long. The lead which connects the River Lagan to the distillery is one of the longest in Scotland. This fresh water imbues flavours of the famous Isle of Peat, which influences the richness of the water. The barley is then spread onto our 3 malt floors using malt shovels and left for 24 hours to allow natural heat to build. During this time, the starch in the grain starts to burst free, preparing for the rest of the whisky making process. After this initial 24 hours rest, the barley is laboriously hand-turned every 4 hours by our maltmen, using traditional tools and methods passed down through generations. This reduces the temperature and controls the rate of germination. Depending on the time of year, around 5 to 7 days later, the malt will become what we call green malt and is ready to go to the kiln for drying. 2 peaked fires smoulder beneath the large mesh floor of the kiln in order to dry the green malt germination, and add our characteristic subtle smoky flavour. Collected from peat banks just outside the town of Bowmore, we dampen our peat before burning in order to create more smoke and flame. Initially, we keep the temperature of the kiln low, as we only burn peat to impart flavour. The heat and smoke billows up from beneath the kiln floor and filters through the green malt, giving the malt a smoky smell and taste. We then dry the malt using hot air recycled from a unique heat exchange system. Once this process is complete, the malt leaves the kiln and is left to mellow for 4 to 5 days before going to a Porteous forward roll mill, a beautiful piece of engineering from a bygone era. It was installed in 1966 and has run with very little disruption ever since. The clean grain is ground through 2 sets of rollers, grinding 20 kilograms at a time. The first set cracks open the grain, whilst the bottom rollers, which are more tightly set, grind the grain down to crisp. Nothing is wasted from the barley. It all ends up in the mash tun. Mashing is where we finally convert the starchy grain into sugar, which is needed to make alcohol. Our traditional copper kettles hold the water needed for the mashing process. Installed in 1938, they were coal-fired until 1964.
That's for hot water.
To begin, 8 tons of grist is added to the mash tun, where 3 lots of water are passed through at increasingly higher temperatures in order to convert the soluble starches in the grist into sugar. The sugary liquid that is produced is known as wort. The wort drains very slowly through the perforated mash tun floor, which allows only the sweet worts to escape, leaving all the grist behind. The worts are cooled down as they drain, continuing their journey onto the washbacks next door. The spent grist, known as draff, is then sold to local farmers to feed their livestock. Fermentation begins in our 6 sturdy Oregon pine washbacks, each holding 40,000 litres of wort. We find wooden washbacks have benefits over stainless steel, as they give us a good alcohol yield and character in the resulting wash. Yeast is added, and the contents are left to ferment as the yeast feeds on the sugary worts to convert to alcohol. The alcoholic liquid that results is called wash, which is like a strong malty beer with an ABV of around 8%. This liquid is then ready to head to the still house for distillation.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh my God.
My mom ditched all her jeans after I bought.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Three with the price of one.
Our majestic copper stills are elegantly designed to ensure we create the
I must be shopping for, oh my God, jeans.
Yeah.
We double distill, using both a wash still and a slightly smaller spirit still.
Yes. Can't touch this.
During the first distillation, the contents of one washback is split between 2 wash stills.
That's crazy.
We boil the stills like a kettle, and because alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water, the alcoholic vapor travels up the still into the condenser, leaving the water behind. Liquid is formed when the hot vapor hits the cold condenser. The liquid we collect from the first distillation is called low wines. This passes through the spirit safe to fill the low wines and faints receiver, ready for the second distillation. Everything that comes from the stills must pass through the spirit safe, so the spirit's alcoholic strength can be measured. The low wines are then filled into the 2 smaller spirit stills, ready for the second distillation. During the second distillation, we want to separately collect the best alcohol with the best flavour. This is what we call the heart of the run, or the middle cut, and it is this clear liquid which becomes our final new make spirit. This light and fruity spirit fills our casks, ready to spend the next few years slowly maturing in our #1 vaults. The head cut, containing the stronger alcohol, and the tail cut, containing the weaker alcohol, are retained and used in the next distillation.
Oh.
The resulting spirit from distillation will come to mature in our warehouses, the most famous of which is our #1 vaults. It's a place of legend and craftsmanship, of beauty and reflection, and is where some of the most revered Bowmore single malt Scotch whiskies, Black Bowmore, Devil's Cask, and Mizunara, to name but a few, have been meticulously matured to perfection. As the world's oldest Scotch maturation warehouse, there's more maturing history within these ancient stone walls than anywhere else in Scotland. The #1 vaults gives us the perfect environment for maturing whiskey.
That's one of the most famous warehouses in Scotland. The #1 vaults of Bowmore.
Whiskies from the pounding waves of the Atlantic Ocean. The selection of casks has a profound effect on a whiskey. For our distillers, it's vital that the wood enhances the harmonious blend of each rich ingredient. Each cask will transform the liquid inside, creating a whiskey that can only be truly appreciated by pausing for a moment in time to savour the unique nuances.
All right, we're gonna stop. All right, so that's Bowmore, pretty special distillery, pretty special whiskey. So, you know, when we run into distilleries that we can showcase like Bowmore, you know, we'll try and find something special. This happened to be the last bottle they had that was sent over from the UK. So I was pretty excited that you know, we were able to grab this one before it disappeared, because there's not a lot of these around. These are truly special bottles at this point. And Holly was mentioning earlier that this is not the typical Bowmore. What was the reason for that again?
We've changed production techniques in the mid-late eighties into the nineties, and it's
Okay.
the bottlings from that time frame are controversial.
Okay, so in the mid '80s to the '90s, they did change their production style, which was kind of controversial. We're not 100% sure that was what this is, but
You said it was early nineties?
well, no, it just says it's a 1990s bottling.
So it could have been distilled before then, but.
Oh, okay, yeah, so
We don't really know, but it tastes pretty bad.
But FWP it's much more floral. It's not that it's negative, but it's like a more roses, lilacs. It's Ventura perfume. That's what it was.
Is that what you get out of this?
It's floral to me on the nose.
French, yeah, or perfume. Yeah.
But there's fruit too.
Huh? Yeah.
I didn't get that. I got, what did I get? I can't see anymore.
I wonder why.
What do you guys online think about the Bowmore?
Excellent.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's peated, right?
Distillery. I'm a big fan of Bowmore. This actually, the Bowmore 19 Fagile, I got one of the best bottles I brought back from that trip.
Yeah.
He's done a great job. This was amazing. It's my favorite of the night. It's such a treat.
One question I have, so it's Islay peated, right?
Yeah, it is. So, but
I'm not getting like the saline that's usually associated with an Islay peat, but it's great.
yeah, they're a little bit more of a barbecue note, but
Yeah.
it's a lower peat with them. You know, we're talking 20, 25 ppm, not 45. You know, so it's a mid-range. It's one of the lower peated on Isla.
I like a Roig or a Lagavulin where you're going to fire. That's what I love about it. It's just they really balance that peat with all the other flavors, and it just very, very nice. I mean, I enjoy Bowmore every time I drink it.
Yeah,
Bowmore's great. It's
I'm
underrated.
with Vinny. I like Bowmore, but I'm glad I got to try this one. Thank you.
I've seen it. Right. You gotta go look at like.
All right, we're gonna do a quick around the room, 1 and 2, not just 1, but 1 and 2. So Shalom.
Bowmore and Benrinnes.
Bowmore, so last and first. Interesting. All right, Tony.
Bowmore and Benromach.
Bowmore and Benromach. So we got the Pete man going. All right, Lucas.
I got nothing. All right.
Lucas has nothing.
Yeah.
All right, Joe.
Benromach and Benrinnes.
Ah, Benromach and Benrinnes. Interesting. 2 and 1. All right, Holly.
Benromach and Blair Athol.
Benromach and Blair Athol. Wow. All right, Jim. Benromach and Bowmore. So Bowmore is not the winner, that's for sure. But maybe Chad might think otherwise.
Bowmore, Benromach.
Bowmore, Benromach, another Pete guy. All right.
Bowmore, and then I actually like the Bladnoch.
Ah, Bowmore, Bladnoch. There we go. Who's gonna say Bonnington? Come on, somebody. Johnny just said it. Bonnington.
No. He's got to sign something. I love that.
No, I'm just kidding. Johnny. Bowmore and Benrinnes. All right. Stefan?
Benrinnes and Blair Athol.
Oh, like Holly, Benrinnes and Blair Athol. Nice. All
Charles?
Right. I like tasting number 184. So yeah, there we go. All right, BJ.
You're like Charles Schumer.
I like the Bladnoch and the Bowmore.
Bladnoch.
Glasses and all, just like that. Let's like Charles Schumer.
Yeah, right. Meg?
Bowmore, and then as the closed caption said, banana mash, aka Benromach.
All right. Benromach got a lot of love tonight. I love that. All right. Dave and Diane?
I'm gonna let Diane go first.
I like them all. I don't know.
Last time. That was the Charles answer.
Jeffrey,
I'm going with the Bowmore and the Blair Athol.
Wow, Bowmore, really?
Yeah, I'm Pete. I'm coming to the Pete
Oh
side.
my goodness! Look at this.
Yeah.
We got another convert. We got
Same
another. All right, Dave, Tobias.
Bowmore and Blair Athol.
Nice. I love it. What about you, Melissa?
I really enjoyed the Bowmore, and I always love Benromach, but I want to throw a little love to the Bonnington. I want to keep following them because I think there's something there. I love the funky nose, so I'm gonna keep following them.
Yeah, you never know. They could turn into something. One thing to remember, Avant-Garde will be great someday. And we just haven't had it yet. And I am the one who will tell you, do not give up on anybody because you never know what becomes. What about you, Vinny?
I am Bowmore and Benromach.
Wow, look at this, Pete man. And Dale, last but not least.
It was Bowmore and Blair Athol, and then I had two tied for third behind that,
Bonnington third. All right. There you go. All right, guys.
Dale, I gotta talk to you.
All right, we're gonna wrap up the online. I gotta control Shalom at this point, so I need to get the video and the Zoom tonight. But one last hurrah for Shalom! Happy birthday, number 67.
Happy birthday, Shalom!
Happy birthday!
Hey.
I mean, he
Somebody
didn't have to come here tonight, but I'm glad he did, and we tried to make it special for him. He will not remember tonight, but that's okay. It will be on YouTube. All right, guys, have a good night. Hope you enjoyed.
Thanks. That was great. Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you for everything.
Bye.
Talk to you soon, Shalom.